hear that and think, great, I'm going to get so much done. And my brain could easily be like, I'm going to get so much done and take a break. But I'm not. I'm just going to do 1.5x work for no extra money and I actually lose money because I'm paying for Copilot, but I get no extra money, and I get extra money if I'm making my company better. Well, let's punt on that, right? But they're
okay. Yep.
Trent is not like, hey Dave, man, that was 1.5x faster. Let's go get your raise. Like, that's not happening, right?
Right.
So then your boss at your job probably is not like, man, you are really fast.
I see where you're going with this. So what you needed, rather than faster, it would be nice if you just had to work 1.5x less hard, or you.
Yeah, where's my cutback, right? Like, I'm just giving free money to the capitalist machine, or I'm giving free productivity. And this is over the long course.
Plus, you used your brain a little less in producing that code, so like maybe it's not quite as good,
right? Or maybe it's a net wash. Like, I'm faster, but it's poor quality, or it's I didn't use my brain, so why should I get paid for not using my brain? And this is in the long arc of human history. Like, we have become way more productive since computers showed up, but like the average, look, I just wrote a book. Like, where do you see this? We've become more productive, but we haven't got more money, right? Like, the middle class is still like stagnant wages. Those of us in tech are probably towards the upper echelon of that, and we're probably doing great. But like most people, since the dawn of computers, they've gotten more productive, but haven't gone up in salary. So all this is to say, I think when we talk about AI making us more productive, I think we kind of also need to talk about universal basic income as like something we probably have to start thinking about. Dave Rupert doesn't actually know if the math works. Like, I don't want to get into like a Republican versus Democrat fight. That's not what I'm asserting, but I'm asserting like people are now losing their jobs. Like, I heard this company laid off its entire copywriting team. Like, they went down or laid off 85% of their team and went down to a skeleton crew. And that skeleton crew's job is now to review AI. Like, is that the future we want? Like that company now has like cheaper, freer content that just gets reviewed, Inverse is like, and this is going to happen to lawyers. This is going to happen to YouTubers. This is going to happen to developers.
Don't you imagine AIs are already being trained on AI generated content? At what time is that? Is that incestuous to people?
Well, that's interesting too. Sorry, I'll like...
Yeah, you're going everywhere. I like the idea that the one where it's like free pizza will be provided for those who work until 7 p.m. or whatever. That's the analogy I think of, is that like, we're giving you this amazing tool because all it does is make you have to work harder. It's like, it's the same, in the same vein as that.
Because I get more out of you. Monopoly man laugh, like, but there's like I was just reading a Kotkey, favorite blog. It's this Ted Chiang. ChatGPT is a blurry JPEG of the web. Links out to I don't even know what blog this is on, but it links out to an article over on New Yorker. Ooh, fancy. I know it's real pretentious. But one thing he said, he called out, I think Ted and Kotkey, was like, it's interesting that ChatGPT is not training itself on ChatGPT, because ChatGPT knows that ChatGPT is just garbage hallucinations. So
yeah, feed me the good stuff. I want a human authored sentence, a nice juicy rib of human sentences.
When you're like, I'm going to replace BuzzFeed, which just went out of business or whatever, like BuzzFeed News, with ChatGPT Buzz News, you actually are undermining your own authority, because you're now a resource which ChatGPT is like, nah, we're not even going to touch this. Like, we don't let, you fall off that big list because you're not even a source of authority. It's very interesting.
If they even know, I mean, just I don't know. Is there an AI detector? I gotta imagine there is.
I think Stanford brains are working on that or something. But yeah,
interesting. But yeah, you change a couple of words around and then it's not, which is what they want you to do. That's kind of the point. I mean, at least that's the public-facing thing, is don't just review and hit publish. This is just it's just for the table of contents, Dave. It's just
the drug dealer
I'm sure
model.
that's how everybody's using it. I'm sure people are highly editing all this free copy they're getting.
Hey, bro, I'm not even reading it. I'm just hitting tab and hitting send. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, tell me about it.
But all that, well, I think people are reading it. I know people, and here's the thing, like, I think there's a positive side where small teams can stay small. And that's a gift to America and capitalism and small businesses. Like I don't have to hire 20 content people if I just, have Chat GPT do it, and then I, kind of edit the content. But, I've also taken work out of the work system. So that's why I think, universal basic income is probably something we should be talking about. And I believe 2 out of 10 strong feelings about that, I think it's something we should probably start opening the door to and talking about, because I think it's already changing things. So careful, I guess.
Indeed. This episode of Shop Talk Show is brought to you by Front End Masters. That's frontendmasters.com. Hey, Dave. They're pretty good, right?
I'm big fan.
Heck yeah, they're a super, I don't know, they just run a good business over there. Lots of good learning material. One thing you should do is click that learn link in the header. You'll take to their learning paths area, just /learning at Front End Masters. And this is what I was so envious of when I was running CSS Tricks, is that I never had course material that was start here, do these things, and it will train your brain forward in this arena. CSS Tricks was never good at that. It was more like a newspaper, just somewhere where you just landed via Google or whatever. This is better than that. This is learning done right, because there's this big SVG circle that fills out the percentages of finishing a course. It gives you that satisfaction of actually learning something, right?
Yeah, the way my brain works is it's so much easier to follow a course end to end versus piecing together 52 different blog posts and YouTube videos and stuff like that and hoping I understand React or something like that. So that's what I really like about Front End Masters. It's it's taught by experts and everything like that.
Yeah, man.
But it's great. And one of the most common questions on Shop Talk Show is what do I need to learn next or whatever? Well, there's your answer. There's 10, 15, 20 courses that you can just go through and just A to Z it. Go for it.
Yeah, dude. Frontendmasters.com. I have a comment here from one Matt Bloomfield, who writes in, Chris, me, often bags on PHP for not having prettier, but I wondered if he's ever used PHP Storm or PHP 8. As a JS dev who recently jumped back into PHP, I've been pleasantly surprised at how great the DX is now. That's developer experience, y'all. With Storm, I guess PHP Storm, which is a software product, integrated editor, all the autocomplete goodness is in there, plus all the benefits of TypeScript, since now you can declare types in PHP, and it even suggests better ways to write your code, as it's always executing in the background and linting for bugs / unnecessary conditions, etc. I think that's super cool. If you're writing PHP, the people in my life who are big time PHP writers, I'm thinking of the craft CMS fellas that live here in Bend and we chat, are totally PHP Storm people. It's an editor that's just for that language. And yes, it's executing and finding issues and stuff with your PHP way smarter than an editor that's not doing that is doing it. That seems great. I haven't used it, Matt, so I don't know exactly. It does feel like I'm missing out a little bit because of all the amount of WordPress sites I've worked on with PHP in them over the years has been enough probably to have warranted it. I just never did it. So my bad.
I think it's awesome there, and I think it's awesome there's opportunities. Does that make sense? Hey, we can do this better than another one just because we understand this, and really well. Like we
Shouldn't
can
there
do
be
that.
like a JavaScript storm? It's like the biggest language other than
Probably.
Python.
I mean, is JS Storm really just VS Code? Maybe.
Probably, yeah, because of the insane TypeScript. TypeScript works freaking great in VS Code.
Right. Really. So maybe that's what it is. But you know, PHP Storms from JetBrains. They have what's their main software? Is it JetBrains? That's
Yeah, I guess.
the Java one, IntelliJ. IntelliJ. That's what it
That's a
is.
sleeper awesome company. Not sleeper, but it's just I don't hear it talked about that much. But it seems like
Yeah.
they do really good work. And then they do these like little side things that are like, oh, that's nice. Like Kotlin or whatever. And they made a font that's super nice.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Good job, JetBrains. One of the good ones, apparently.
Yeah. So
Until we hear that you fired everybody or something
or you're
horrible.
like leave data to Russia or something else.
Yeah.
But anyway, they for now, okay. But they like you know, who is it? Alex Simeon over there. He does he uses a is it WebStorm or PHP? Is it JetBrains' WebStorm? I feel like I should know that. Yeah, WebStorm. He likes that. Like it's I don't know. There's like some. I think like you can.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. It's the smartest JavaScript IDE.
Oh,
hilarious.
We did.
Wow.
We found it.
Where are we?
Anyway, I think it's very cool. There are very cool, distinctive features about it. I personally like there's something weird. It's like I was an Atom user and not a Sublime user, you know? Like, and so like going like JetBrains and that sort of vibe or that like style, that there's some stylistic choices in there, never like sat with me exactly, you know? Like it was like, I'm not gonna use that. And I kind of dragged myself to VS Code, sort of kicking and screaming, but it had really good node support, so I switched over to that. But I don't know, I'm so like, I was like Coda, and then Atom, and then it's like, and it was a downgrade to go to VS Code because it's kind of ugly as sin. So anyway, it's really hard for me to like pick up one of these Java-based ones or kind of Java-y ones, but if it's working for you, that's awesome. I think it's great. Like if you're working on Laravel sites, why would you use anything else? You know, like or craft CMS sites. Use the PHP.
Right. So I wonder, is that their most popular one? Now that I feel wildly ignorant now. If you go to JetBrains.com and open up developer tools, where you find WebStorm and PHP Storm is in this list with like 10 plus others. There's a Go specific one called GoLand. What?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm downloading this.
You're going to GoLand?
Well, I gotta try it.
We're going to GoLand. GoLand.
I have a problem in my. Let's see. This is esoteric, but I'm gonna run it by you. Because you have a mono repo too, right?
Got a mono repo.
Do you open the whole mono repo? Do you use VS Code? I'm sure you do, right?
I use VS Code, yes.
So do you drag the folder for the entire mono repo onto VS Code, or are you like picky about which particular folders in the mono repo you open?
This is a configuration issue I'm having, and I wish I could pay somebody to fix this. I opened the whole repo. I opened the whole thing.
The whole thing, okay.
And if I had code workspaces, I would get like a flattened list of all my apps and packages, you know?
Yeah.
But if I enable code workspaces, all of a sudden my Jest test quit running automatically. And so there's this weird, I'm in a fugue state where Viter, VS Code, and Jest all hate each other. So that it's sort of like when you get into like a prettier editor config ESLint debacle. I'm kind of
that's a thing, right? Because if you open just a sub part of your mono repo, it doesn't know about, it can't like reach up higher to get a higher, prettier config or whatever. That's kind of an issue.
So like that's why I opened root, because they're all sharing the same like just config or whatever.
Yes. Right.
Plus extensions, like it's just config and then like whatever.
Who knows what else? Your freaking TypeScript types and all kinds of stuff. Like it really behooves you, I think, to open the whole mono repo. In a way, it's one of the list of reasons to have a mono repo. It's because it's so nice to like do a find in project and find some keyword across everything, because it gives you a better picture of what's happening. I very much prefer to open that way, and 80% of the time that's what I do. Although it's interesting, some people at CodePen are so fast at like using the terminal and stuff that because you can type like, for example, code is the CLI command for VS Code. Yeah, code dot. And they're so adept at like CDing around directories that if you know the stuff right away, they only open the folders they know they're going to need, and they're so fast at doing it from the command line that's just how they roll. But I'm just like, I have a workspace set up that I just do one click on this file and it opens my root thing. Here's the problem. Go specifically for us, and I'm sure this is fixable. It's just one of those fiddly things that none of us have like really honed in on why. Is that the Go code, when you have the mono repo open, just doesn't behave correctly. And Go works great in VS Code. Like it's like TypeScript. Anything that you hover over, it's giving you what type is that thing, and where is it defined, and what's the implementation, and show me the type definition, and all this great stuff. It works totally nicely in VS Code, although I'm excited to try GoLand, see how it goes. But it doesn't work unless you open like the root of our Go stuff alone as a folder in VS Code. You can have other folders next to it. You can't open the mono repo above it. It just all breaks. You open a Go and all the stuff has squigglies on it and stuff. Like I said, there's probably some way to fix it, but nobody's really been able to figure it out. And the prevailing thing is just like, well, just don't open the whole mono repo when you're working on Go stuff then. Anyway, that's all. Maybe GoLand can fix it for me. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, dude, yeah. I feel like there's a job out there, like iFix your editor thing. Like if you had, I would literally probably, it's a $500 problem to me, probably, right? Like, hey, could you download this, get it set up vaguely how I have it set up, and then fix it, here's this, and tune it up, make it super cool. I mean, like Wes Boss used to have like cool courses on how to use Sublime real well, like those are cool, like, but I feel like I just need somebody who's like, I am friggin' pro at setting these, setting up your editors and stuff. Like, that would be cool. Because my other developer, Kyle, he's got a different setup, and we don't know what the difference is. Like, did one of us hit a setting or not? Like, he's got a different problem. Like, if he adds this, something else falls over. It's like a bar stool and another bar thing, But for editor configs.
I like that idea, and then like shine it up too, like install like the nicest icon thing, and like throw me like, make sure Dracula's in there. I like that one.
Stuff like that, yeah. Like, dude, here's stuff I can list out services. Here's stuff I can do, or like, we have Turbo Repo. Here's another question I have. I don't even know if this is possible. We have Turbo Repo. I think I saw your thing. Like, you run a command and it opens tmux and opens up a bunch of windows, right? Like, so process A, B, and C are all happening in different terminal shells, like different shells.
Yeah. I'm a little obsessed with it still, but well, we kind of have to, because there's probably 15 at this point, like things that need to be running,
right?
For like a fully functional thing, and we're pretty big on like that. Our dev environment is like very close to production, in all ways, all things. So like that's a lot of services, and in no world can you ask a developer to like, well, make a new terminal tab and type this, make a new terminal tab and type this, make a new terminal tab and type this. It's like, no, you just type run CodePen, and it just opens up tmux, and what tmux does then is it like simulates tabs in a terminal, which is nice because it's not terminal specific. Then anybody can run it.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what terminal you use.
Like we in Turbo Repo, the way we have it set up is I do like npm run dev or whatever, and then it goes into every repo and runs npm run dev, or like we can teach it which repos need what, right? So it'll go into each one and start up what it needs to do, and it starts up a Docker too, I think locally for like this weird message queue service we have. That it's awesome, but all the feeds, all the queues, or all the like logging, it's all happening in one big window, and so it's kind of like I don't know who's mad unless I like really like zero in on the logging, string. we have it the best we can, but I think like what would be cooler is if when I say npm run dev turbo repo, it does the tmux thing and gives me 5, opens up a shell for each process, and then I get like, all these shells going. That would feel very powerful. So stuff like that. Like I would like that. Is this mythical person who tunes up these repos, are they doing that? There's other things like, I don't know. Could I switch over? We're using like TSC to like compile stuff, and then we run nodes and stuff. Like just in case we're not using TypeScript, but just in case somebody is using TypeScript in the dependency.
Wow. Yeah.
But is it possible to use Vite instead or something? And is that safe in production? That's stuff I'm interested in, but I just don't know. Like should I just run Vite instead? But you probably don't want to run Vite in production, so do you just run a Vite build? Like, what do you do in Vite building a Node app? That seems stupid to me. So should I just switch to Dino? Tell me what to do, mythical person.
Yeah, right. To prepare a report, prepare a presentation for me. My own code base.
Dave probably just needs to hire a DevOps backend person. That's probably what's actually where we're headed. But,
well, it's nice when you can share all the work too. It's one thing to be like, you know what I'm going to do this weekend, even though it's totally unhealthy to do a bunch of stupid work on the weekend. But I'm going to, in this mythical time where there's no meetings and I can just focus on some esoteric thing, get our dev environment all cleaned up.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to clean it up and then share that cleanness, which is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Which is not always possible in all ways, It's nice to make sure that it's set up so whatever you do is kind of shareable or at least documented.
Yeah. No, I think if it could go in the repo, that's awesome. And the VS Code does pretty good at that.
Yeah. I don't know. Rory Hendrickson here. Dave.
I'm on blast.
I don't. It seems like probably in reference to something you mentioned, but it's we don't always do these like questions right after we get them.
Yeah.
Couldn't exactly tell you how old this is, although I do use Notion here, so it should say a date. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, sorry. This, who knows? This could be a minute old. David, have you tried Foxy SVG? URL is foxy-svg.com. The best vector editor plus web app. I've used it because everything from maps to actual SVG, plus you can inspect the SVG code it generates. I've heavily used Illustrator in the past, and drawing tools are almost on par with it. I swear I have no affiliation. That's kind of cool.
I like this. You know what I think this is maybe in reference to is like I wanted to draw stuff and to have it be vectors, maybe?
Yeah.
Like for like blog posts and stuff.
Just really quick, draw it and then get it out.
Oh man, dude, I have 4 blog posts blocked because I want to put a chart and graph in there, like a hand-drawn chart.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, I got another one for you then. Let me find it.
My handdrawncharts.net. Tell me that.
I freaking love this though. It's a really nice web app. It's not going to solve your problems, I don't think, just yet, but just know that it exists. I'll Discord you.
We're in
Discord together. It's called Perfect Freehand. I think it's a GitHub repo, so you could kind of use it anywhere, and that URL is the kind of the hosted one. Oh, look, it even has a better URL.
Did you write that, or did you... Wait, did you write that?
No,
that's what it comes with. Okay, I was like,
yeah, it just says hey.
Amazing.
It does, but you try it. Like right above where it says hey, just you try to copy it, and that's a little janky. But it still looks cool, right? Like there's some kind of magic done that as you're writing, it's smoothing it out and making it look like a little better than it should.
Yeah, I like it.
But it's not just for drawing letters. Just hit clear in the bottom. You can draw whatever. And I do think blog posts benefit from that as a quick little sketch of something, like a box with an arrow that points to another thing, just as a little interlude that explains kind of what you're talking about. I did it the other day in a blog post. It worked out pretty good. What this is missing is a one-click button to save it as an SVG, but it has copy to SVG. You'll never guess what Dave just drew and sent it to me in
not
Discord.
a butt.
See, that is a illustration style that looks nice in the type of blogging that you and I do, I think.
That's it. This is it. This feels like, does it work with pen tools? Could I pull it up on the old iPad? Yeah, I'm going to try that out.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant pen tools like click, drag, Illustrator, vector points.
No, because this is exactly what I want. Like both these tools, Boxy and Freehand. Is that what it's called?
Perfect Freehand.
Perfect Freehand. It's very nice, and I might use it because I think I saw your drawing, and I was like, "How does he do that?" So, yeah, no, this is very up my alley.
I found an iPad flow that worked pretty good too because I forget the exact app name. I'll have to dig it up, but it's one of the popular drawing ones that do work with pens. I don't even have an iPad pen, but it works fine with your finger too. So you draw some stuff, but the beauty of the iPad one was that you could just hit the little share icon and then hit copy image, which is what this does too. It's just that SVG didn't paste into the block editor in WordPress for me. It pasted as text, not image.
Yeah. Okay.
But for whatever reason, on the iPad app, this app that would copy as SVG, I could hit copy from the iPad and then on my laptop just immediately hit paste because of the shared clipboard scene on iOS. They're shared between macOS and iOS, which I've heard from some people is like, it's the one reason I'd never leave back, is the shared clipboard works so freaking flawlessly. It's unbelievable to me.
Between iOS, yeah.
I can open my phone, flick around in my images, long click on an image and just say copy, and then from my phone, and then without doing anything at all, just be in a WordPress post and hit Command V, and that photo from my phone pastes. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I've done that by accident
How the hell
before,
does that
and it
work?
was very magical. I have a Cloud Tabs. It's actually pretty cool too, which you maybe can do with other stuff like Google Cloud Sync or something, or Edge Cloud Sync. But I had all these blog posts open, and Arc likes to close tabs. I found out, that's a feature of Arc, because it just unloads your stuff.
I can't stand it. I tell it. That's the one thing I don't like, and people love it about Arc. That's like, it's a touted, beloved feature that it auto closes your tabs. But I am way too OCD for that. Like, I close my tabs.
Well, yeah, I'm on the fence because I'm like, 100%. Please rescue me from my own devices. like I am gonna wreck my brain if somebody doesn't come through and do some cleaning, But I actually opened up Safari and I put all these tabs I was trying to keep because it was just, I had one of those big brain days where I'm following links, and I probably got 20 tabs, and now it's all synced to my iPad, But and I need to actually read the articles. Safari's been open for 3 weeks, but anyway, I just I think maybe that's what I do this weekend. But that's a cool feature. Like when you're in an ecosystem and the cross-device story is very good. It's a good feeling. So yeah, better than how my phone and my iPad never knew about my Windows machine. A little bit better.
Yeah,
but the curse is your whole computer explodes if you get a phone call. So, and that's a bad thing. So,
yeah,
because it was so bad, I somehow said ignore every call. And now I get no phone calls, even when the school nurse is saying, "Hey, come pick up the kid." So now I don't even get those calls. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem. So anyway, hey.
Thanks for the link to Boxy. I have seen that before. SVG was part of my life for a minute while I was writing that book and stuff. It does seem like one of those web apps that falls into this category of wow, this is way better than it needs to be. Where did this come from? It's just for free and it just works great and what?
Right.
How does this work? There's no paid plan or anything?
You know what I would use this for, like today, is diagrams and flowcharts. I know there's other apps that do that specifically, but they don't always give you a cool SVG. So if you're just hey, I just need to diagram something and share it, this seems like a cool way to do that. Because I'm sure I have blog posts that are waiting on that too.
Yeah,
I need to diagram whatever. I use Mermaid a lot, but this would be cooler. So
yeah, is Mermaid the I don't know, like Markdown for charts or
Markdown for
something.
charts. It's very cool. Mermaid.js. And it's got a little DSL, domain specific language, that you use. And it's kind of just like whatever foo, and then you draw an arrow and ASCII to bar, you know. And
Yeah,
so
I just wanted to get that on CodePen. We're gonna have to do that one of these days because everybody likes it on CodePen.
I think it's a Markdown extension, so y'all have Markdown maybe, so might work.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gosh, now that I think about it, do we have that in Luro? I think we do have it in Luro. I'll have to verify. You know, sometimes you build a feature over a weekend in a few beers and you forget if it's in the application, Chris. So,
Yeah.
so I don't actually know if it's in there or not. So, but it does work in GitHub comments, which is super useful. It works in works in readmes and stuff. And that's super useful. So you can kind of just like we have in our readmes for Luro, we have like basically like big diagrams of how the whole application comes together. That's the idea of like,
that's good.
yeah. I'm trying to be a cool guy. I'm a CTO, baby. I'm trying to like, basically, if somebody paratroops into the application, they have no question about how it works. You know, like that's the goal, is to kind of like give you a high enough level thing. And I used to have this thing where Prisma, which is like our little database adapter ORM thing, would automatically generate it.
Oh, I didn't realize you're like a production user of Prisma. You're not just a fan.
Production user. Yeah. Unless it has a security problem, then no, we don't use it at all. No, production user. I used to like read the schema file and then spit out an ERD, which is like an entity relationship diagram, you know, where it like shows the table, column names, and the types, and like links them all together, you know, all the tables together. We used to like auto map our database, our data structure, so that was kind of cool. But there was a bug in that plugin, and it failed. Yeah, it's partly because of npm, but it failed on like generating on production, and that's not what we wanted. So
No.
you can't have the production system fail because of your chart and graph doesn't load up. Your superfluous chart and graph.
Yeah.
So
I think that might be all the time we have. We have a few more questions here, but we're gonna have to put them to a future show.
8 more years. We can get through it. Well, thank you, dear listener, for downloading this in your podcast of choice. Be sure to start our favorite up. That's helping you find out about the show. Follow us on Mastodon at shop.show at Frontend Social. Links in the show notes, and join us in the Discord. And there's some D&D happening. That's exciting. So patreon.com/shop.show. Chris, anything else you'd like to say?
Whoa. Yeah, it's really medium lively in there. I really like it. Shop.show.com.
like it. Açıyorsunuz, o şeker, çocuk ettirir. Yaşa çağırıyor. Increase texture clarity while minimizing visual noise. Spark. I don't know if that's I see stuff. This, which game we're talking about. Epic. It wasn't fine. What is the other lines? What else? Let's go back and first. Gone. Off. There's the shimmering stuff. It is article for the now it is object to
abilities from training on everybody's data. So there's a massive incentive to centralize and to for the largest players to keep getting bigger, just because they already have the largest pools of data on which to train from. And then if you want to customize it to your code style, to patterns that you specifically have coded before and want to repeat, then you can fine tune.
Use AI of some kind, and if you go to ask.lukew.com, you can just like ask it stuff, and according to his little writings about this, he's just playing around with it. It just returns stuff from his own presentations and his own videos and PDFs and blog posts and stuff like that. So we're saying that it wasn't actually just trained on Luke's stuff. It was trained on all kinds of stuff, and then is somehow just scoped to Luke's stuff in the last mile. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but
yeah, that's probably what happened, and that's just because most of us will never produce nearly enough words to train these kinds of models. The reason they're large language models is they take a huge corpus, and the number of parameters in them are huge. So just to give you an idea of order of magnitude, it's about 300 billion words to train GPT-3, and the latest Llama 2 model from Meta was 2 trillion words. And that actually teaches it all sorts of things, from world knowledge about like what entities are and what objects are, to words, to being able to complete sentences, everything and anything in between. And then you don't fine tune it. You do retrieval augmented generation, the thing I just told you about, and it's been specifically trained to pay attention to the last few items, the context window, where you can insert in, let's say, your blog post or whatever, and it can start generating text. Only use scope to that. But it will hallucinate things that maybe don't exist in the source text. It's just harder to find, and that's one of the difficult engineering challenges.
Oh, wow. So even though on Luke's website here, I could ask it like, I don't know, how do you make cotton candy or something? And it might just tell me, even though Luke has never written about that in his life.
Yeah, I mean, but there's tricks around that, around sourcing of your information. Like, basically you cite your work, right? Like, it's all like, it's actually, if you're like a elementary or middle school teacher, you might actually see a lot of patterns to, don't make this up, like, show your work. And we're, a lot of us are doing the same thing with the AI APIs that we're writing. I would also say, I guess, that you don't have to do this at the beginning. I do think there's maybe like a multiple stages of adoption to go
tell
here.
me about that.
I don't have an actual framework or anything to pitch. I definitely people are out there, putting together long Twitter threads about this stuff. But just in terms of prompting, like the art of retrieval augmented generation is a fairly well mapped out discipline right now, and you can kind of go down a standard set of tutorials. We'll talk about this later, but I am working on a tutorial for that kind of stuff towards synthesizing this thing. So you just to leave breadcrumbs for people looking to do more, look into vector databases like Chroma or LanceDB, look into retrieval augmented generation tools like LangChain, but also you can handle it yourself. In fact, you should handle it yourself to understand it. And then look into hypothetical document embeddings, which help you match the queries that you embed to the documents that you actually want to retrieve. And there's also some patterns beyond that, but those are the basic starting points.
Yeah, there's so many words to know. That's part of it. What makes it intimidating to me is that we know the big ones. I know what Llama is, I guess. And I know what everybody knows, OpenAI and their models. That makes sense. But then you're like, what if the startup space is huge and all kinds of things are trying to help you? But this is again like shattering some of my understanding of some of that. You're saying that in order to have this be useful, it's gotta be a massive model. And again, we're talking about text mostly, but it probably applies to anything. So if you're a startup in this space, you're probably built on the back of bigger models. It's not like you're bringing some new model to the party. You're bringing some DX or something to the party.
Well, I just think like it's how a lot of startups function anyway. So this is no different to me than like I build on top of AWS.
Yeah, right.
It's no different to me than I build on top of some framework I don't know. But someone else put in the hundreds of millions of dollars into building this framework or setting up this service, and I can use it to write the last mile to make the product that's useful for my end customers who don't actually care what I implement under the hood. They just care what I can do for them. And there's just a set of actual creative, generative new use cases that I can now create, and I think that's what people care about.
So it's like another analogy incoming. Warning signs. I don't know how to write a global mapping system, but I can embed a Google map on my webpage. And I can set some markers and say, make a map that's kind of in these bounds, right? So
yeah, absolutely. So I have this little menu bar app, and I use it for coding probably like 20 times a day. Anytime I want to look. Yeah, I do. It's Copilot++. Copilot is really good for autocomplete, really good for if you write a comment of a function you want to implement, you can just go ahead and implement the function. But for just general things, I have this project called Small Developer that is a coding agent that goes from prompt to full app. So you can just literally say, I want a snake game, I want a tic-tac-toe app, I want a VS Code extension, I want a Chrome extension. Of that size and complexity, and it can produce the whole thing, including, so for example, maybe a hot take or admission here. I've never learned CSS animation. I've tried, I've pulled up the CSS tricks articles and I've really tried, but I can't memorize it. I just don't have the practice. I don't have the patience to do it. But now I can just punch it into an LLM and go like, give me a candy stripe loading indicator with 10 pixels and round it, and it just does the thing. it's great.
Right. Okay. So that's an example where Copilot wasn't the right. There's actually a different way to interact with these models that somehow works better for you. That Copilot isn't the last story in how to interact with these models. You even brought up a point that I don't know that everyone 100% understands. I think the easiest, once you've installed and activated Copilot, you can't miss it. As you type, it's suggesting crap, and then you hit tab or whatever. But there's this other way to use it that's more prompt-like, where you literally use the code comments above the thing, and then it's more, it's like sees what you're doing, and it might suggest more code than just like the extension of the line. It's like the following function will, take a URL and look for the word candy in it and return true or false or something. Like if you explain what you want, you're gonna kind of get that. But that is still pretty scoped to like just one file, for example, and
not even the file. It's typically a single function or a few lines of the function.
You're talking code me a tic-tac-toe app like you explained. That's a larger scope. And you're saying there's tools already that can help with that?
Yeah, made one. Yeah, but I'm not plugging my own. I'm just saying it's possible. I actually did it in the weekend. It's not that hard. The more you explore the capabilities of these tools, then you'll know when to pull them in. And I think at least for people who are like skeptical, cynical, or maybe just apprehensive, just having a sampler is really helpful. Like, here are the capabilities that other people have explored, and you should know them whenever you want to pull them out. Because they are very helpful. Just because like a lot of this is low-level boilerplate, right? Like I think what the opportunity offers is that we get to elevate ourselves from writing every single line of code towards reviewing the code that is generated and prompting it to tell it what we want and just kind of reviewing it, because it's going to make errors. You should not check it in without review, even though people do. GitHub estimates about 40% of lines of code checked into GitHub are checked in unreviewed or unchanged from GitHub Copilot.
Wow. I'm guilty.
40%.
My type, that's sweet.
But how does it really know? Like my eyes maybe looked over it really quick, and I'm just so familiar with the kind of code that it generated that like, how would it know that I actually reviewed it? I don't know. That seems funny.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's some so people have done studies and say like it does generate unsecure code, and it's kind of like how with the like Tesla autopilots. They want you to keep your hands on 10 and 2, and never stray and not go to sleep, because even though it's kind of self-driving, you still have to monitor it. And we don't have the equivalent of that in code generation or AI yet, where we can say like, no, like we really require human review. So there's a certain amount of like self-discipline that needs to be done, or at least just like good testing. I think like ultimately this helps you generate boilerplate much better. But it doesn't replace the human processes of like actual, checking and designing with the end user in mind.
Yeah, you keep saying it's early days. It totally is, right? Like I don't think there's any doubt that we haven't seen where this is totally heading yet. But it does already seem like a big deal. When I talked with general people, I talked to the guy about who owned a restaurant, and he was so pleased with himself to use he's a nice guy. I'm not trying to be like you're dumb. He used it to iterate on like menus for catering, and I thought that was really clever actually. And then was skilled enough with it to adjust the prompts and be like, yeah, you did a pretty good job, but I don't have any mangoes, so adjust it and stuff like that. Really basic stuff. And then I was like, man, that's great. Good for you, staying on top of the world. You should see what it's doing for us coders, though, man. Like we really benefit a lot. I benefit all day, every day. I don't know if it makes me twice as fast, but it's getting there, So I'm thinking about that, about how I probably am better and faster. So that's something. So I just want to throw that out there for everybody listening to this. Like, if you've never even tried it, which I know there are some of you out there, it really is. It's just good. Right? It helps you. And then I was in my local Slack. We have a BenJS Slack group, so just my little town. And a conversation just started the other day. Like, and it was just generic. It was like, who's using AI code helper tools? I bet it was 50-50. So there are some people that were just like, nah, just haven't yet. which is a good reminder of how early days this is and how some people are just uninterested or something. They're not even Luddites. It's just early days, And I don't know, I probably misused that word, but then there's some people that the most common response was, I can't because work won't let me. Have you seen that one yet?
Yeah. I'd say it's probably like for real use cases is probably a top complaint. And there's others, there's professors who require usage. There's other companies who actively buy ChatGPT subscriptions for every single employee. So there's a very wide range of opinions, and that's completely fine. You have to decide, as with any new technology, you have to decide how comfortable you are with it and what the safeguards are. I will say, like, there are companies that are emerging that will give you the privacy guarantees that you want. It's obviously very important for the Europeans and anyone working in healthcare, defense, anything like that. Don't count it out, because there are options out there. If you use it as an excuse not to explore, that's where I'm a little bit against it, because it's not like people aren't running into these, you're not alone in running into these issues. People have actually worked on solving them. They're out there. They're looking for you. Work won't let me. I think it is a barrier, but also if you really want it enough, there are people out there who will give you like a LLM inside of a Docker container that you can run inside of your own environment that is fully controlled by you, right? So Sourcegraph is doing that. Codium is another podcast guest that I've had on is doing that. There's a bunch of people.
Enterprise-friendly AI. Hell yeah, of course they are. They want to charge you $200 a head or whatever they do.
That seems like, I don't know, the way to do it. Just sort of a clean room. Like, hey, don't go tell the world about this one.
Well, yeah, so then the question is, obviously this gets into a whole privacy debate, which we have no expertise over, but how unique is your code?
Right. Well, just getting into like customer data, or like how, not like, I talked to a friend who works at Salesforce. It's like knowing customers isn't like cool, exciting, but like knowing customers who are about to peace out is maybe interesting, and maybe somewhere where AI can like do that. But I don't want to just send a list of my customers to openai.com,
For sure.
Like that would, so like a clean room for that would be kind of cool. But
yeah, you even gotta adjust your understanding of what's even happening, right? Like you're probably not actually. What data is going back to them?
True. Yeah, like
I don't even know. Like some.
Yeah.